For most of human history, credit was simple. You owed what you could repay in grain, cattle, or labour. Default, and the consequences were brutal, slavery, land seizure, or worse. Debt was personal, immediate, and often fatal. Then ancient societies did something radical. They turned debt from a private grudge into a system. They created records, interest, and laws that made borrowing not just possible, but essential to civilization. The result? Credit didn't just survive, it evolved into the invisible force that powers our entire modern economy. Welcome to Money Evolution, where we trace the hidden journey of money, wealth, and power through the ages. And nothing is ever as simple as it seems. The story begins in Mesopotamia, around 2000 BCE. Temples and palaces acted as the first banks. Priests recorded loans on clay tablets, how much grain or silver borrowed, interest rates of 20 to 33%, and repayment deadlines. These weren't casual favours. Debt was state-enforced. Kings used it to fund wars and temples. Failure to repay could mean debt bondage. Your family sold into servitude. But here's the first innovation. Debt became transferable. A creditor could sell the claim to someone else. Suddenly, credit wasn't just between two people. It was a commodity. That shift laid the foundation for everything that followed. By the time of ancient Greece and Rome, credit had grown more sophisticated. Greek merchants used bottomry loans, high-interest advances for sea voyages, repaid only if the ship returned. Risk was priced in. Rome took it further with publicani, private contractors who bid on tax collection rights, borrowing heavily to pay the state up front. They were essentially the first bondholders, profiting from the empire's expansion. In both societies, debt fueled growth, but it also created fragility. When empires overextended, defaults cascaded. The Roman Republic's credit crises in the 1st century BCE showed what happens when trust in the system erodes. Fast forward to medieval Europe. Feudalism tried to suppress credit. The church banned usury, charging interest, calling it sinful. But trade couldn't stop. Italian city-states like Venice and Genoa found workarounds. They invented bills of exchange, letters promising payment in another city, bypassing physical coin transport. Interest was hidden in exchange rates. A merchant in Florence could lend to a trader in Bruges and earn profit through currency conversion. Debt became abstract, portable, and global. The real breakthrough came in the 12th to 13th centuries with notarial records and public debt. Italian communes issued forced loans to citizens, prestiti in Venice, that paid interest and could be traded. Citizens weren't just taxed, they became investors in the state. Defaulting meant losing credibility, not just money. This was revolutionary. Debt wasn't a burden to be avoided, it was a tool for stability. The state promised repayment to bind the wealthy to its survival. Trust, once personal, became institutional. By the 17th century, the Dutch and English refined it. The Dutch East India Company issued shares and bonds, publicly traded debt that funded global empires. The Bank of England in 1694 took it further. Permanent national debt backed by Parliament. Governments could borrow indefinitely, as long as markets believed in repayment. This model spread. The United States adopted it after independence, issuing bonds to fund the revolution. Modern mortgages evolved from these ideas. Long-term, interest-bearing loans secured by property. Credit scoring? It traces back to 19th century merchant credit bureaus in the US, rating borrowers' reliability. Today's FICO system is the digital descendant, algorithms predicting trust based on past behaviour. Today, credit is everywhere. Mortgages, credit cards, student loans, all built on the same logic. trust in repayment. But the system is fragile. When confidence breaks, as in 2008 or ancient defaults, everything shakes. Ancient debt systems taught us that credit is never neutral. It reflects power: who lends, who borrows, who absorbs the risk. Empires rose on debt, but many fell when trust eroded. Modern borrowing is more sophisticated, yet the same rules apply. We still live in the architecture they designed. Credit isn't just money, it's a promise. Break the promise, and the system cracks. The evolution of credit shows us something profound. Borrowing has always been about belief in people, in institutions, in the future. History explains it all, and we will help you explore. If this gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe and join the journey as we reveal truth from the ages.